Today I have with me some tea and a book and also this little cat. He's sitting on my tea. My friend gave me these little cats that sit on your teacup, like so, and then you wrap the bag's ring around its tail. Although it doesn't tend to stay on the tail very long, it is kind of cute. I'm drinking Earl Grey Lavender Black Tea today, because today we are reviewing Pride and Premeditation. So Pride and Premeditation is Pride and Prejudice and Murder. Not to be confused with Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, which is something very different. It's set in the same basic era. It's got the same characters, it's got the same overall plot. The only difference is there's murder and lawyers and case solving and being locked in closets. It's got your general cast of characters. You've got Elizabeth Bennet, you've got her sister, Mrs. Bennet, her father, Mr. Bennet. You've got her various sisters, Jane and Lydia and Kitty, and I forgot the last one's name. Usually, I kind of just generally dislike Collins in Pride and Prejudice adaptations, but in this one I hated him. He was bad, but that was the point. So, good for Tirzah Price. She definitely made me hate him. I would say the murder sort of got rid of a few of the more romantic elements that were in the original book, but it's still very much a romance book with just murder sprinkled in, which is my kind of book. Mostly it's Lizzie trying to get a spot at her father's law firm, and he won't give it to her. Mr. Collins is going to get it, which sets up that sort of rivalry. Charlotte is their secretary, and she's Elizabeth's best friend. Actually, the marriage storyline with Mr. Collins hasn't really been different at all. Darcy is a little different, not in the terms of his character so much as what his character does. Anyway, now he's a lawyer. And Bingley is on trial for murder. Bingley's sister married this guy. Bingley didn't like the guy. Eventually, one day, Bingley and the guy were fighting. They took the guy to his house. Bingley went home with generally no alibi. When Bingley came back the next morning, Bingley's brother-in-law was dead. Ergo, Bingley is now the main suspect in the murder investigation, and Elizabeth goes over to where Bingley is being kept at the prison, and she's like, "Hey, would you like to be my client?" And Bingley's like, "I'd love to, but I already have this guy doing it." And Darcy steps out of the shadows, and he's like, "Hello." It looks very, very awkward socially, which is good because he is. So that whole thing doesn't really change. They still have the Pride and the Prejudice, except the prejudice that we know is there has been replaced in the title with Premeditation because it's murder. It's the first in a couple of books. There's Pride and Premeditation, Sense and Second Degree Murder, and then I think there's a third one, Manslaughter Park. That's the name of the last one. And I think there are only 3 books in the series right now. So far, I've only read the first one, but it was pretty good. The writing, it was really good, actually. The writing was good. The pacing was very nice. I liked it. It had everything I want in a book: murder, mayhem, mystery, false accusations of murder. A little bit of romance on the side there. I would recommend it to most people, especially if you've read Pride and Prejudice. I don't think you have to have read Pride and Prejudice. Watching one of the various movie adaptations, or reading the book, or watching the web series, doing one of those things would probably help you understand a little bit better where the characters are all coming from, and you'd be able to sort of predict the plot twists a little bit better, but I don't really think it's necessary to completely understand what's going on. I think you can sort of step into it and say to yourself, yeah, yeah, this is what's going on. This is a well-written book. I mean, if I didn't already know the characters, I think I would be a little bit more impressed with it, but since I know the characters, I have a little bit more of a high expectation, which I don't think is entirely fair walking into a brand new book with a new author I've never read anything from before, but I think Tirzah Price really knocked it out of the park with this one. No, that is not a reference to Manslaughter Park, but it could be. And I definitely think you should pick it up. I think it was like, yeah, it was $12, so it's not an expensive book at all. I got the soft cover. I don't know if the hardcover is much more expensive, but I would definitely recommend picking it up, especially if you are an Austen fan. But even if you aren't, I would give it a try just to see if you like the characters on their own, a little bit outside of their normal setting. And now onto the tea. This is Earl Grey Lavender. So, I like Earl Grey and I like lavender. Pretty good, actually. I mean, it's not the best thing in the world, but I could get behind this. This is pretty good. I mean, I'd probably add some half and half or heavy whipping cream or milk or something, which I think most people do add to their Earl Grey anyway. But pretty good. So, very good. I definitely recommend. Tea's pretty good. I would recommend it if you like lavender, but if you don't like lavender, I wouldn't pick it up. And until I see you again, make sure to make time for tea and a good book.